right, 3-0 Blitz on Lee Chess. Opponent's rated 1904. And we're going to play, let's see, a chigorin setup. So remember, we pin it and we play c4 real quickly. Get castled. Then we can start to converge. Ooh, interesting. This is going to be ugly. So this is a good one to know in our repertoire. So when they do these, when they play knight to c6 before they move their c pawn, we pin the knight, then we play c4, and so here we're gonna win a pawn. And what I'm actually gonna do, we'll look at this afterwards, is we'll get more pieces off the board by having this pin at the end. Then the question is do we push? I think we take. And then I'm actually going to do this, threatening this tactic here. Okay, so they saw that, which is fine. Let's actually retake that way if we can. So we have another target to work against. So let's centralize our queen. Get this file. All right, I'm happy to trade pieces off. We have the better endgame. And let's think we will. Yeah, let's do this. If he comes in here, we're going to go here. Let's think. Let's come here. Maybe that wasn't the best because with this we have to do this. I was hoping to try to get a rook off the board. Yeah, that's a little annoying. But it's not that big of a deal. So now we can get another one off. So now we're a pawn up. They have 3 pawn islands. We have 2 pawn islands. So as long as we don't make a mistake, we should be sitting good. So I'm actually, even though it weakens this pawn, I'm going to repel that knight. I will just grab this. Pawn's a pawn. Because now we could even go here and here if we wanted to. Kind of support everything with that constellation. Because if they ever try to take this with the knight and we take back, then this pawn runs. So this is self-sustaining. So now we can centralize our king, try to create more weaknesses. So let's see if he grabs it and falls for it. We're going to just make an innocuous pawn move. So he doesn't fall for it. So let's see if we can create a weakness that we can attack. And I'm just going to run over and grab that pawn. All right, so let's think. We don't really care. So now we just have a winning pawn in game. So let's we'll jump in and take a look at that one. I'm sure my technique was far from perfect, but we just following our easy principles from our repertoire, we ended up getting a winning position out of the opening, or at least near winning, if not winning. So let's check it out. Right, so let's take a look at that game. Got the analysis graph pulled up here, and it's looking pretty good. It's saying I had 4 inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. I think there was one mistake, but let's look through it here, and because I think one thing that will commonly be faced at the lower levels is this chigorin. So we're going within our repertoire, and I was hoping that they would play e6 here, and we would get bishop to d3, which is the thing that inspired this repertoire. And there is a fully free annotated repertoire. There's links to it down below. I'll put a playlist up there. But they ended up playing the chigorin setup with knight to c6. So as I was mentioning during the game, when they play knight to c6 before they've moved this c-pawn, what we do is we play bishop to b5. We keep it consistent. We play bishop to b5 and follow it up with c4, putting pressure on the center. Usually when people play knight to c6, this guy was rated 1904. Up around that level, you may start, we may start to see people that play this not as a flat out mistake, kind of somewhere around there. But the idea is they want to play, they're using that knight to support a quick e5 break. So we like to pin it so that they can't just play e5 right away. And then we play c4 to put pressure on the center. And now, especially, a lot of times they will play bishop to g4. So this player probably doesn't know the ideas necessarily behind the chigorin, but they'll usually play more often than bishop to f5. They'll play bishop to g4 to kind of take, indirectly take one of our defenders of e5 away so that they can push e5. So this is kind of like a really good version for us. And here I was playing too quickly. I should have just played knight to e5 right away. So that's a mistake. I would consider that a mistake. But it's 3-0 Blitz. Saw it in time. Now I like to take, because you will have this happen a lot where they hang a pawn. And now notice if they weren't castled in this position, we would take with the knight, because then they would take back, like say they played h6 or something, we would take like this and get this pin at the end. But when they've already castled, like in this game, I like to take with the bishop, because then when you win that pawn, you fork both those pieces and you get another piece off the game, and that's their good bishop, right? It's on the color opposite of their pawns. So I like to just get rid of it. And here, c takes d5, looks like that's fine. Now, I probably should have just kept developing actively. In blitz chess, I like to give them opportunities to make mistakes if it looks like it's an approximately okay move. My thought was, I can always develop my bishop there, but I liked the idea. I just saw that, and I'm up time. The player's probably a little bit rattled, losing a pawn right out of the opening like that. So that's why I went this route. Now I think that was definitely the best move by them. And here is where I missed a good opportunity. I'm surprised they didn't label it as a mistake. I just played this move, not a good move. You can see the difference in the evaluation. I should have, being aware of this alignment, should have just played this. this is just really hard to meet. So let's see. So if they play knight to e4, putting more pressure on that, I just keep piling up pressure. Let's see. I just want to see what happens if they go down something like this. Yeah, they just can't get out of that pin. So even if they take it like this, now this is hanging. So yeah, that was a big miss. But that's the beauty of playing these simple openings. Now that kind of idea is in the head, because this will happen probably over and over. I'm guessing when I played the London system, a lot, you'd be surprised how many times I got the fork thing where I took the bishop there. So this is kind of the corollary when you play the Colle. So probably get into a position like this a fair amount. But anyway, back to the game position. I just was kind of probably too in the mindset of let's just get everything traded off and win an easy endgame, which worked out fine, especially when you're ahead on time. So I thought this felt fine. And let's see. I probably, computers like in this, I was just kind of wanted, let's see. I guess this is good. That's hard to see in a 3-0 Blitz game for me at my level. But the cool thing is the position's easy enough to play that I thought, well, I'll set this up. My goal was just to exchange, take, and then move this bishop here, move that rook to other rook to c1 protected by the bishop, and just get everything traded off. And then this is just an easily won pawn endgame, or my inner piece endgame, I should say. But we ended up getting in this position here, and this all seems great. Probably should have just maybe. Oh yeah, this is fine. See, as soon as they move this away, we can target this. So let's kick it away, grab that pawn. And this is where this is kind of a good kind of thing to know. And we'll kind of look at this real briefly. So in a position like this, this is like a self-sustaining fortress kind of thing. Because let's say, okay, let's say they were to maneuver their knight, and it would take them some time, right, to do that anyway. But let's say they were to maneuver their knight where they could capture it, they could capture this, and I think actually we'll skip over the game because I think it comes into a situation where they could have done that and they realized not to do it. But the idea is if they were to capture this with a knight, we take back, they can't retake with the king because then this pawn just advances. So I thought, well, I'm up on time. I'm just going to play quickly, set up this fortress. And so now here is the key part where I'm saying, I thought, okay, well, I thought maybe this player is just going to go for this and not realize it under the time pressure. The idea being, right, that's just losing because we promote. So they didn't do that. And here I was kind of like, maybe this isn't as easy. Obviously, I can blitz them out on time, and I know it's winning, but maybe finding the winning moves aren't necessarily as easy as I thought, and I don't know that I played it perfectly. So I'm just going to look and see if there was any obvious things I missed. And so now at least we got pawns on both sides of the board. So my thought is I'm just going to run my king over towards the other ones. And now the thing to note is this bishop is actually free to kind of hit that if we want to, because we don't have to maintain the fortress. And there they just completely collapsed. But I wonder what the winning procedure was. I mean, it's still pretty obviously winning. But, not sure what their best defense is. I guess that's part of the answer in itself. Let's see. Something like this. We make our way over there, so that's kind of obvious. They come back here. I guess we just kind of penetrate no matter what they do. So, pretty smooth game. All set up by just understanding kind of the basic ideas of the chigorin when it seemed like the opponent didn't necessarily understand it. And instead of castling here, jump on it right away. Right? This light squared bishop can't go break the pin anymore on d7 because of this e6 pawn move. So that divorces the bishop from getting back to d7. So yeah, another kind of easy flowing game in the simple Colle system repertoire. See you next time. All right, 3-0 Blitz on Lee chess. Opponent's rating is 1788. Going to do our Colle system. We can see they already gave us the tempo, so this is like non-standard. So we can continue with our normal moves, where we castle and then bust with e4. They're not going to get checkmate here because our knight covers it. They're just losing more time because we take with tempo. That seems odd to me. So we could just gain more time. Why not? So we have a tremendous position here. Let's just develop with time. Weaken their position. Their king's still in the center. Let's just line it up with the king. I feel like this is probably already losing. But it's 3-0, so we're going to make moves. If nothing else, we're just going to do this kind of setup. Yeah, we'll just do this kind of setup. Notice how they don't have any pieces developed. And we're going to overwhelm that square. Or just open lines. Guess this would lead to a trade of queens, which is not good for us. So I missed that. That was not... It was a bit zealous. But we got the fork. See, the Colle is like so overwhelming that most people just can't keep up the resistance because it's just so powerful. Look at that. Now this diagonal, you will get tactics, the double attacks with the king. When using the queen, you double attack either the square or the king in a piece. It just happens over and over and over. And it's just amazing. See, like, look, now we got this. It's just, wow. When you play the Colle, you got to be used to getting quick checkmates. I mean, tactical opportunities. It just happens over and over. He wants to play again. So all right, so let's take a peek at that game. So the graph looks pretty good. This was obviously that knight c5 move where they could have done knight takes knight. We were forced to take with the d pawn, and they would have got the queen off the board, so we would have gotten two pieces off the board and taken away a lot of our advantage, which is what happened, or which didn't happen but could have happened. So let's first do the learn from the mistakes. Okay, so we know that that was the mistake. My eye just jumped at that. When they played f5, it gave up protection of e6. So the eye jumps right to that, and I guess, yeah, why not attack it this way, right? So done reviewing mistakes, no other mistakes. So that's not bad. You did see there was somewhere I didn't play the optimal move, but none of them they considered an actual mistake. So that's a good sign. So let's see how we got such a good position so quickly. So we're playing our Colle system. Everything's going normal, and then they throw in this check for no reason. So it just lets us play c3 for free. Like we don't always in our repertoire play c3 unless they play c5 or put enough pressure on our center in another way that we have to support it. But if they give it to us as a free move, fine. Okay, our standard Colle move. Now they make another move which is, I guess, allows a retreat square, but it doesn't put any pressure on our center, doesn't develop another piece. So now we have 3 pieces developed. They have 1. So they have spent 3 moves on that bishop, right? And now we have a safe king, have our constellation of pieces that we normally get in our Colle system, and we're ready to bust with e4 and open up this bishop, open up the position. So this is obviously very strong for us. Now they create a battery on the h2 square, but our bishop is on f3, protecting that square. So we just go ahead and bust it open. Now we retake with the knight and gain tempo, right? So they have to spend another move, moving a piece a second time. And I figured, well, the thing about when you play the Colle, the way we play it, we're not married to this kind of like triangle pawn structure. I mean, if they give us the full, if they give us the center, we'll just take it. Now, interestingly, it said there was a better move in that position. Let's see. So it likes rook to e1 or b3 or bishop to g5. So didn't think that that was the optimal move. It certainly worked out fine because then we're ready to bust open the position even more. But when in doubt, develop pieces over pawns. Rook to e1 they like the most, lining up with the king that's still in the center, so that makes sense. But play continued, developing our last piece, or not our last piece, our queen still has to develop, but now we have this weakness. This diagonal is now opened, and part of this training playlist, we're trying to really try to take advantage of mistakes when our opponent makes mistakes. And instead of looking immediately at threats, first we want to look at what weaknesses they create. And maybe I should have been doing that a little more throughout this video, but at least here they're creating a weakness. Now they get their knight developed on the edge of the board. Looked like this was the best move. We're just going to line up with the rook, line up with the king, develop it. Now they castled, but they have a weakened king position. This is where in a 3-minute with no increment, I didn't want to fall too far behind. My opponent's actually playing super fast, and maybe that's why they were making kind of not very strong moves. Interestingly, the computer likes knight to c5, hitting on that square there. I just kind of moved my rook. Perhaps I should have moved my queen if I was just going to randomly move something. So I haven't played it precisely, but the opponent's obviously under a lot of pressure. They got to know their position's bad here. And I figured, well, if nothing else, I'm just going to set up this battery and keep rolling. This is where I made the mistake. I played there. Now this is where this would still probably be easier for us to play, but according to the computer, everything's equal, and that makes sense. You know, our advantage was a lead in development in a weakened king position, so we do not want to get pieces traded off. So I saw it right after I played it. Luckily, the opponent didn't see it. Instead, kicks it back, and then now it's just going to be lights out, right? We're flooding in. I grabbed that. I guess, you know, this may have been even better. I'd like to grab the pieces around their king, was my thought. Like, I know it's not a full piece, it's an exchange, but then just kind of rip this position open. And once again, this diagonal, this comes up over and over and over. Look how this move here, this will just come up so many times in this Colle system. We have a double attack with the queen. This time it's against the king and an unprotected piece. So sometimes it's against like the h7 square and an unprotected piece on this diagonal. But when they open up this diagonal, always look for tactics, because it's just unbelievable. Even higher rated opponents just fall into tactics all the time. So it's just crazy. Now he can't take that because of the back rank threat, right? So he plays this, and then it's just checkmate. I mean, it was just lights out. I guess it didn't really matter what he did at this point. But yeah, this is kind of not that uncommon in the Colle system. So I'm really falling in love with this thing. I kind of think I wish I maybe would have just stuck with this a long time ago. All right. Well, hope you got something from that. Really interesting how we got so far ahead in development. I didn't play it ideally in the early middle game, but it didn't matter. So, all right. Next game.